Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is David. Today we are going to continue our real estate agents project. In the previous video, we have finalized the hero section, the navigation, the search box over here, and also we have done the service section on the home page, and also we have completed the footer. So in today's video, we are going to continue this project by keep building the second section, which is the property section on the home page, and also accordingly, we'll finalize the property page and also the property single page. So there's quite a lot of work to do. So let's just jump in and do it now. And going back to our code editor, we can see that so far we have done this home page and up to the service section. And our next job is to do the property section. So similarly to the previous job, we have to create a new component inside our component folder, and that is called a property, or plural, section.jsx. So I intentionally keep the name section, and that is because later on we have a page called properties. I do not want to use the same name to confuse you. So this is the property section on the home page, not the property page. All right. So and inside this, we're gonna type up the use clients because we are building a client component, and then RFC to create a boilerplate. So now we have that. And the next thing for us to do is to inject these things into our home page for now. So going back to our home page, and then we say properties section. So that's how we inject it. So you can see now the property section gets loaded up there, maybe below the service. All right. So if we're going back to the browser, let's just see what's happening here. You get to see this text was property section, and that is okay if it looks ugly, but at least we know that the property section is there. It's right below the service section. It looks ugly because we haven't finalized it. So the next job is to think about what does the property section contains. The property section is going to present some of the promotional property or the popular property on the market. And so that'll grab people's eyes and also attract people to click on to see more details. So therefore, we are going to present those property information using a swiper. So we're going to apply the swiper again inside here. And also, each property information is going to be held by the property card. So we do need a card design to hold each individual property. All right. So based on that logic, what we're going to do is to create another component, and we call it a property card. .jsx, enter. And it's going to be the client component as well, RFC, and then we create another boilerplate. So we have this one now, and we know that when we actually present the property data, eventually those data will be loaded into the card template, like so. We have the backend URL. This is the npm endpoint that we built in the previous section, and we can see we have 6 properties in total, and each one will contain an object that shows different properties of that property item. Right? So this is the property, this is the value, we have the background image, we have all the features of that property, everything. But when we build the card, we're going to use our property card to present some of this information. So that is the reason when we have this one and this one, we know that in the property section, this is going to be the parent component, and this property card is going to be the child component. And this property card is extremely important because it's not only going to be used inside the property section, but also going to be used in the property page. All right. So we have to load this one properly. And I'm going to give a property for it, for this child component, and that is going to call property. And we know that when we design something, we're going to pass in from the parent component a property object, and that property object will be consumed over here inside the child component, so that we can fetch or access each individual property value inside it, like the property name, like the property address, the property price. All of those features is going to be fetched over here. All right. So this is the design logic, and we have that done. And quickly, I want to have another file called a card CSS. So we do need to style it, otherwise it looks super ugly. And we're just going to say import property card.css. So now we have these two files combined all together, right? So the order of the design, I like to design the property card first, because when we do the mapping, the data will be fetched from the API inside the parent component and then mapped into the child card template. So we need to have this one ready before we do the mapping, right? So what I will do here is just going to copy and paste the template that I designed already, and I will explain it to you. So it's quite a bit of a long code. So what I suggest you to do is that if you want to code along, you just need to pause the video and to familiarize yourself with that. The majority of the things are just the Bootstrap class name. It's default. Some of them are customized class name. The reason why I do not type up is because it's quite time consuming, and I would like to spend more time focusing on explaining and teaching you how to do it, so you can finalize the project yourself, or even improve it, or even do it your own way. The key thing here is that for you to take away is to learn how to set up this layout and structures inside Next.js. So when you know how to build a card, you can do your own card. It does not have to be the same as me, right? So we can have a look at now. We set up a property for the child component, and we know that that's the property object that we get from the parent component, and we can fetch all the individual values for that property component. And then we can see here we fetch the background image. Here we will get the ID, because we know on each card there will be an individual link that will allow us to go to the property single page. So this is link to set up that. We can see that the directory for the individual property is going to be /property / the property ID. And when we look at the backend URL, we know that there's an ID for each one of the property, and that's unique, non-repetitive. All right, so we can use that to go to each individual item. And then here we fetch the property number, address, and also we have the property status. Is it rent or buy? And also we can give the user the property price. Make sure you have the 2 decimal places using that JavaScript function. And then again, there's another place for user to click on to get into the individual property page. Alright, so the following information is quite standard, showing the features of that property, like the area, number of bedroom, bathroom, and garages. So we fetch all of those individual properties. It's quite a standard template for the property card, except that we use the link component of Next, so we have to import it. One of the tricks is that if you want to import something and you see that the auto importation is not working, you just delete and retype the last letter, and more than likely your code editor will pop out this, and you just need to press tab on your keyboard, and it will automatically import that for you. Let me just hold the Option key or Alt key to move it up. Yeah, so far we have the card, and the next job is going to give you that CSS code for this card. So going to the property card CSS, and we paste that in. Let me show you what's happening here. Basically, it's just we have a dynamic hovering effect for the property card. So when the user hover on the card, down the bottom, there will be a pop-up to show the details of the property, and make sure that you have the card design adjusted for different screen size. So these are all responsive design using the @media query, and also we have make sure that the overlay content, to set up the paddings, to give them the correct positions. Basically all of that. It's quite standard CSS design. I'm pretty sure you can understand it. If you know HTML, CSS, and the basic JavaScript, you should have no problem with this. And pause the video and code along, and you will have the perfect card in the end. These things is just to give us a bit of definition for our title, the card body, and also the price. You want to show user the property price in the theme color, which is the green one, and that's for that. All right. So we have all of these things set up. That's the end. Okay, pretty cool. So now we have the property cost done, and this one's here. So all finalized. Now going back to the parent component, we are going to fetch data over here, and to do so, we have to import few hook. One is the use state hook. The other one is the use effect hook from React, and then down here, we have to use the swiper again inside this component to allow that property to be swiped around, and we have to see that automatic sliding effect. It loops through from one to another. So again, I'm going to show you how to import that swiper. And by the way, we have installed that Swiper.js in a previous video. So if you haven't installed it, just open up your terminal and type in npm install Swiper, and it will install this thing for you. Once you install it, you are allowed to import all of those Swiper components from the Swiper React. Alright, even though we are building a Next.js project, but fundamentally we are doing the React project. Next is just give you a better framework that allow you to set up pages, that allow you to build up your front end and the back end together. Right? It's just making the job easier for you. Alright, we have done importation. And the next thing is that we need to have a local state variable to hold the data that we fetch from the backend URL. And this is the one. We build a local state variable called properties, and it's a function to reset a state variable called setProperties. Initially, it's going to be an empty array, but once we fetch data from the backend URL, this empty array will become the JSON array that I show you on this page. All right, so we just have to do the data fetching next. How do we do the data fetching? We use the vanilla fetch function provided by JavaScript, and we call that function whenever this component gets mounted on the browser, and that is going to be the time that we trigger the use effect hook, like so. Right? So we do the data fetching from the backend URL and make sure that this URL matches the URL you set up over here in localhost 4000/properties. And once you've done that, it's going to return you with a response. That response is the JSON array, and you turn that JSON array into your JavaScript type of data, which is the JavaScript array that contains the JavaScript object. And then you store that data into your local state variable properties. So now our local state variable properties has become the JSON array that we fetched from these routes. Okay? And then whenever this property section component gets mounted on the browser, this use effect hook will call this fetch data function. Basically, the data will be ready at the beginning stage of the mounting. Alright? So that's what it is for. And the next job is to do the last bit thing, which is the parent component. We're going to build up a new section and then map the data that we stored in our local property variable into our child component, which is the property card. Delete that, paste it in. So now you can see we have set up a new section called the property, and inside here is the bootstrap container that contains one row. This row is only used to hold the title, and inside the title we have the place to set up allow the user to see the property grid page. We're going to build this route very quickly, don't worry about it. And then down here, Swiper is our focus, because inside the Swiper is going to be like this. The first part is the opening tag, and inside this opening tag you can see it contains many information, and we have set the slide preview as auto, but this breakpoint is very important because it allows the numbers of the slides to be showed differently based on your screen size. If the screen size is 320, that's how many views you will get on each screen, and if it's 1200, the numbers of the slides get to see will be increased to 3. So that's the responsive design. When you use the Swiper.js, you must set it up. Alright? And the remaining thing is that how fast you want it to be, and if it's autoplay, what's the delay, and also if you have a pagination, what's the class name of that pagination, if it's clickable, what's the module that you have used. Very important to focus is that you must import this module first, right above from the Swiper modules, before you can use them over here inside the Swiper component. Alright? And it's listed in an array. You don't have to put every component, every module. You only need to put in the one that you want to use. Okay, so this is how we set up the Swiper. And over here, we know that in the previous fetching, we have set the local state variable properties to that JSON array that we fetched from the backend URL. And now we just have to double check if this one exists. If it's yes, if it's true C. Well, secondly, we can check how long is it, alright? Because it's an array, if the length of the array is greater than 0, basically means we're not doing with an empty array. Empty array in this case is useless, okay? If it's so, if it's true C, and then we're going to choose the first 4 objects inside that array and map it into our property card. Remember, if you're going back to our backend, we have 6 objects inside that array in total, okay? We're not going to present all of them. We only choose 4 of them, okay? Because this is the promotional or the most popular 4 item that you want to present to the user on the home page. So that's why we do a slice, right? Imagine that in a real project, you probably in your database, you have more than 100 properties in your database get stored. You don't want to present all 100 properties to the user at a time on the home page, right? So you only pick up the one that you feel is most important or most popular. And in this case, I just choose the first 4. And in real life, you can choose the case based on your own priority. Okay, so we're going to map it into a swiper slice, which wraps the property card that we designed over here. This is the card template. I already done this before. And obviously, we haven't imported. That's why you get to see these 3 dots over here. And you delete the last letter, retype it. It's checking, do you want to import? Tab. And now you're going back to see this one has been automatically imported over here. Okay. And what I'm going to do, that looks fine to me. The last bit, once we've done the mapping, all the data has been mapped into our property class template. The last thing is just the pagination. Remember that this pagination's class name must match this element's dot property carousel pagination, and that's how you can control it. In the CSS, we have defined how this pagination button looks like. Here, you just have to tell the computer this is the class name that I used, so the CSS file can identify it. All right. Yep, we have pretty much done the property sections, and we know that we have injected this section into our home page. Let's just go back to our page to see, oops, it pops up with an error. What it is, it tells you that you used the link component, but you didn't import it. It's an easy fix. Going back to our parent component property section, delete last letter, retype it, tab. So now we have imported the link component from Next. My habit is to put all of those things together right below that React. And then if we go back to it now, scroll down a bit, you can see there's a beautiful card, beautiful property card gets presented to the user. And all of these links are actually working, supposedly. If you're going to all property, it should give you this routes, localhost 3000/properties. But so far, we don't get to see anything. And that is because we haven't built that route yet. If you click on this one, it's supposed to give you this route, localhost 3000/property/1. And that is because we are clicking on the number 1 property inside our JSON array. We have the data ready in the file. Remember in the card, we have this link that take us to the /properties/ID. So the ID is dynamic. Whichever one you have fetched on, and that ID will belong to that property. However, when we click on those buttons or links, we don't get to see anything. And that's because we need to build this property grid page, and which contains this card again. All right. So our next very, very important, and also the key things of this course is to show you how to build a page inside of the Next. It's quite different from what you have encountered before in a React project. In a React project, when we build a page, we normally use a third-party library called React Router DOM, and it's also easy to do in that way. But when your project is getting larger and larger, the React Router DOM probably will meet some challenges of maintaining. But for the next project, you actually make that process very, very simple. Let me show you. So close off your component folder. Right in your app folder, we're going to build a new folder over here. It must be inside the app. All right. And that folder's name is called properties, plural. That's it. Yeah. This name of the folder must match your route name. If you want to make your second route /properties, and you just name your folder properties. All right. Once you've done it, hit enter. So now you have your routes. Each folder represents one route, and the one that is outside, that is contained by no folder, which is your home page. Okay. This is the folder structure of the next project. And how do we show that routes? Let me show you. Inside the properties, we create a new file, and that file is called page.js. Exactly the same. Whenever you use the name page.js, and the next project will identify it straight away and know that's going to be a route file. Okay? And the route name is going to be your folder name, and the page.js is going to contain your route content, whatever you want to present on that route. So here inside this, we say use client, and we say RFC tab. So now you will have your page, and we're going to rename it property. property list maybe. We know that this is going to be a grilled presentation, yeah, to the user in the end. So we name it a property list, and once you've done that, you should have these routes. Okay. So now if we're going back, even though we haven't done anything, we just go to this all property. You see, you're not get to see that black page anymore. Alternatively, you see the header, which is the navigation, and the footer. In the middle is empty. You see nothing, and that is normal because we haven't built anything yet. But we know this page exists. If it's not exists, say for example agent, you should see this black one. That basically means that the Next is telling you I have nothing to load. If I can find something to load, I will show you whatever I can see to load it for you. So this is what I can see. And if you opened up that console, oops, not console, the element on this page, I'll show you. You see this one here, div property list. It actually loaded, and that's because it's hidden at the corner, has been overlaid by the navigation bar, which is this one. So we have successfully built another page routes and load the content of it. All right. And the next job is just to put in our customized content inside the property list to replace this div. Very easy. So inside this property list page, we're going to build a grid to show every single property inside our JSON array, and that'll be 6 in total. Okay. And we also allow the user to go to the individual one after we're building. So going back on the second thought, maybe I want to change this component name to properties list, plural. And also we're going to create a empty style.css file inside this properties folder. This allows you to create this customized CSS that belongs to this page only. All right. It doesn't really matter which name you use because we have a separate folder to hold our file. So you can name it anything. My habit is just to name it styles. So we have those 3 things on. And the next thing is going to start to build. And also, we also need to create a local state variable called properties. And we're going to do a data fetching again from this backend URL to get all the property data. And once we have it, we're just going to store it into our local state variable, same as the property section before. And somebody may ask, why you do the data fetching again? It is repeating work. It is because we are building this project purely for demonstration and education purpose. I didn't do it super clean. Ideally, this data should only be fetched once at a super global level, and we pass down through the content variable. But we are having too many new things going on in this tutorial, so I don't want to overload you at one session. In a future project, I will make things even more cleaner and even more complicated structure to show the code. And you need to improve your skills and understanding of the React and the Next.js project progressively. But so far, let's just do a multiple data fetching, so you wouldn't be able to lose. Otherwise, we do a super global one, and we have to do a property drilling, and we have to share the content of the global variable. It's going to be very confusing and not good for you to study. All right, so we do the local property again, and then we do the data fetching again, same as before. Now we fetch all the data from our backend endpoint API, localhost 4000 /properties. And then down here, we're going to set up our page. So parentheses, and we're going to give a new wrapper called main, and give the ID of main as well. So we have a main to wrap up everything. And to think about what do we have over here, we're going to have a subtitle, which is a like a breadcrumb to show the page name, the page routes, like a subtitle section. And we're also going to have our grid that lists all of our property. And also down the end of the page, we're going to have the pagination. Maybe the property is too much, wouldn't be able to load in one single page. So the 3 things comes in. And we're going to build our first component, which is a breadcrumb. So give the comment. The first one we're going to build is called breadcrumb. And we know that this is going to be a separate component. So inside our component folder, I'm going to create a breadcrumb. JSX. So we have that one done. So for this component, let's say we have a use client component and RFC tab. So we'll create a boilerplate for our subtitle, and inside here I'm just going to copy and paste in this template. Think about what is the subtitle component is going to hold. We have a few properties to use. We must tell them what's the title of it. Maybe we will have a subtitle and we have to tell them that which page we are on. So once we have that, we paste it in. It's like an introduction breadcrumb, and it's a bootstrap container that contains everything, only one row. And then inside here, we show the user the title of the page, the subtitle of the page, and which page we are on. So that's pretty much it. This is the page name. And also we allow the user to go back to the home page because we are in the secondary routes. It's supposed to have a layer or a hierarchy of the routes that allow the user to go back to the previous one. So this is what it is for. And we have to import that link above, so below, and that's it. So now we have our breadcrumb done, and we're going back to our page. We know that our first component is going to be that, and we just import it, breadcrumb, close it off, and we have to think about what's the property value for each of those, because we have a title, subtitle, and page. So what I would do, I'll copy and paste in the settings for these routes. That's that. So we know that the title, we give them that our amazing properties is showing that all the properties we have on board, and also the subtitle is that, the page is also that. So once we have it, we're now supposed to have a bit of a preview of what's going on. Yep, we get to see that. So on our property page, we are now get to see the title, the subtitle, and also the routes. If you click on this home button, it'll take you back to the home. Now if you click on the property, it'll take you to the property home. And also same thing working for the property section. If we click on all property, and now you're taken to the property page as well. See, everything's all linking up together, all working together. Beautiful. The next part, going back to our code editor, is going to be our official property world. So let me just firstly copy and paste in that setting. So we'll create a class name called the property world, and then it's going to be the world. Bootstrap container contains one row of it, and that's going to be our option that shows which type of property you want. And down here is the key of the page. We are again, because we fetch data from the backend endpoint and we store the local variable properties, we're going to map that array into our property card again. This is the beauty of React or Next. You get to reuse this property card that you pre-designed. We're just going to have to import it again over here on this page. So we import that property card and map it over. You don't have to touch anything. Since you have done this card before, you just need to pass in that property object. The card will show the information for you inside its own template. Alright, so the last row is for us to build our pagination. Let me just comment that out for now because we haven't built that component yet. We're going back to our page. We can see, wow, this is really cool. You get to see all 6 properties. And if you click on individual one, we still get to see nothing. Later on, I will show you how to create an individual page that can show every single property. Alright, so now let's just move back. But now you get to see all the property world. And on each page, you shouldn't load too much. 6 or 9 is the maximum. If you have 100 properties, you don't want to show them all on every single page. Alright, that's why we need a pagination that allows the user to move over to see more properties if they wanted to. So now I'm going to release this one. I'm going to show you how to build this pagination component. So going to our component folder over here, create a new file and name it pagination. Then use client RFC. We'll have that boilerplate done. So now we're building it. Inside the pagination, I'm just going to copy and paste in the template. It's quite a standard one, like so. And we create a nav tag and give the class name of pagination. And also all the pagination here is just going to be list. This is the Bootstrap pagination settings, except we use our own customized CSS to restyle it. The remaining things are just very typical. We have the pagination 3 pages. We're not going to show the algorithm of the pagination in this project. However, in the future of the project, when things getting more complicated, I'm going to teach you how to do a genuine pagination. For that, all the page numbers is going to be presented based on how many items you have instead of hard coding. Alright, but now we have the pagination template done. Going back, we're just going to import that pagination. Right above, that one gets imported. So now we have our page done. We have the breadcrumb, and we have the body, which is the property guild. We have done the mapping, mapped it into property card, and also the last row, we show the user the pagination. So now if we're going back to the browser, you can see the pagination is there. The first one is active. Yep. Because we only have 6 items in this project, we wouldn't be able to touch on this part. But for the mature project, you should have the pagination functionality when the property number grows larger. So we have that one done. Something looks incorrect to me is this one. The selection is supposed to be on the right hand side instead of the left hand side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to the CSS, the style for this page, and I'm going to copy and paste some basic setting for the property guild, like so. So you can pause the video. It's quite simple. Just reset the margin, the border radius, and some background color. And once you've done that, we're going back. You will see this one has been moved to the correct position. Everything looks much nicer. Very, very cool. Huh? So now we have our property guild page done. So we're going back to the home page. And then over here, we go to the all properties. We are in. Click on this button. We are in. And then the next job is going to create the individual page for each property. So whenever the user click on the cards, it should take the user to that property with ID in it. Alright, so let's just do it now. So we're going back to our editor, and to start to think about how do we build that individual page. Do we create a separate component called a property single? No, that's the React way. The Next.js way is quite simple. It's far more simpler than you could ever imagine. We just have to do, inside a properties folder, which is the parent routes, we create a sub-routes for each individual item. And that's going to be a folder. You have to pay attention to this naming convention. Square brackets, ID, that's all. So if you name your folder with the square brackets and the ID in it, or you call it the property ID, whatever ID you want, the next project will know this is going to be in a subfolder to load each individual item. Alright? And inside this folder, how we're going to set up the page, what we're going to do is to create another file called page.js. Pay attention to this route structure. This page.js is inside the square ID folder, not the parent page, right? Even though they have the same name, but they're different thing. It's the naming convention you must follow when you build a Next.js project. Every route must have a page file for the route to hold the content, all right? And also we're gonna have a similar style .css inside this folder. So now we have 2 things done. And over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna close off this one. This is the parent one. And we know that in the parent, we have this property cards. Whenever the user click on the cards, it goes to the individual one. So here, we say use client RFC to set up the structure for this card. And we have to rename it, call it maybe property single. So now you can rename it to the one you want, property single. And the style, we'll just leave it for empty for now. The thing is, now we have that route. If you're going back and we click on one of those, it actually moves into the page. You see, we'll not get to see the black screen anymore. If you go to a non-exist page, like the agent, you will get to see this black page. But now we're going to the individual property page. It actually shows the navigation, and the footer basically means this page does exist. Alright? But how do we present the property detail or the data on this page? We're going to use this route parameter. We know that now we are accessing the properties ID2. We're just going to make another fetch from the backend URL to the property number 2. So if we go to the localhost 4000/properties, and if I want /2, enter, you will see this route return me as a response of that individual property object, ID2. Alright, we just have to make the request to this route to get this response in a JSON format, and then we turn it into the JavaScript objects presented on the browser. Okay, that's the logic. But the thing is, how do we get this routes parameter? It's now in the routes. Very perfectly, the Next.js gives that opportunity to us. It has a built-in child parameter called the params. This one is being given by Next.js by default. You don't have to set it up. And now we can access the ID of it by using it. The way to do so is that you create a variable called ID, and that one is going to equal to params.id. Okay, this params represents this routes parameter that you set up in your square brackets. If you set it to be in a property ID, then this one has to be property ID, whatever you use over here. Okay, so now we have that ID all matched up, and we can fetch it. And let's just test out property single that given the curly braces ID to see if it's working. And let's go out, and what I'm going to see, maybe we try one. Click on this one. You don't get to see on the page. That's because it's been overlaid by the navigation. But if I turn on this one, let's just see over here. As you can see over here, inside the div, it says a property single -1. Okay, so now we are fetching the property, the routes parameter 1, and we are getting it into our DOM element. Perfect. So we can access this. As long as we can access this, we can make the request based on that ID to the backend endpoint and fetch the entire data, right? That's how we do the project. So our next job is going to set up the local structure, some local variables. We're gonna use the use state hook over here, and also the use effect hook over here. And also we're gonna set a local state variable called property. This is just a singular, not a plural. And then we're going to fetch the data from the backend to get all the property data. So we say another function, fetch data. And very soon after that, we're going to do a use effect hook to call this function when this page gets mounted. Alright, so that's going to be a template literal, allows you to fetch the routes dynamically based on whatever ID that has been passed in. So this is going to be the localhost 4000/properties/ID, and that ID is based on the parameter. Whichever one you click on, that one will show. Okay, so now we have done the data fetching. Everything looks perfect. The next job is going to present our template, our individual property template. Not like this, right? It's much more fancier than just a single line of code. So let me just delete that. I'll scroll down a bit. So inside our template, I'm going to use a main as well. So main, give the ID of main. That's it. And inside here, the first thing is going to be a breadcrumb as well. So we put this in. You have seen this one before. The reason why I didn't use our component template is because this structure is slightly different. It's going to use some of the data from our dynamic routes. So I just want to show you what it looks like. For the title single, we have the property number, address listed up, so the user can see when I reach that individual property, they can see the address of that property. This is the location, and also give the link, allow them to go back to the home page, and also showing that because we are in the, based on the routes hierarchy, we are probably in the third hierarchy right now. We have the home page, the property routes, and also the property single routes. We are now in the property single routes. It's the third layer. So we have another link that allows the user to go back to the previous routes, which is their parents. And again, in the last route, it's going to see we are now in the individual single property with the property number and address. All right. So we save that, and let's just go back to the browser to see. We forgot to import that link. So let me just do it real quick. Okay, tab. Yep, that one is in. Now going back, so you can see what it is. On this individual property page, click on the first one, individual property page for ID 1. This is the property address that we fetched from the backend, and this is like the suburb. And also, we are in the third layer of that route. That's why this one have nowhere to go, but you are supposed to allow the user to go back to the previous routes, which is the parents and the super parents. The parents is the property. If you click on it, it'll go back to the parents property page. Let's just try it out. If you click on this one, it takes the user back to the home page. All right, so that's what it is for. It has a very good settings for all of those routes hierarchy, so it enables the user to use your website in a more convenient way. Alright, so once we've done that, the next part is going to present the content of our individual property. Using that local state variable property, we're going to do a lot of data mapping, and also inside this page, we are going to use Swiper again to show that the property slide, because we probably have multiple images for each property. So far, we only have 2. We'll have one background image, and I have given one slide image. If you have more images, you can just keep adding on, or you reset up this structure based on your own need. That's absolutely okay. So now let me just import all of those CSS settings. And also the JavaScript settings for Swiper. So below that, we're going to import the Swiper, and also we import the Swiper CSS, the pagination model we're going to use, autoplay we're going to use, so all of those. And also we have this style file customized for this page. Let me just import that as well, /styles.css. So that one gets imported. So it's done. So over there. So now we in the main, we only finalize the breadcrumb. And the next part is going to be our main section. So what I will do, I will set up the section structure first and make sure that you have the correct class name for it. So the previous section is for the breadcrumb. The second section is to hold the property single content. And inside here, we're going to create a container. So that's that. And inside this container, we're going to put in our first thing, which is a swiper. So that swiper is used to show the slides of that individual property to the user. We make sure that we have the speed set up to 600, and we have the autoplay delay of 5000, which is a 5 second. We have the pagination, which refer to this pagination class name down the bottom. And so far, we only have 2 slides, so I just manually set up those 2 slides instead of using a mapping. The first slide is going to be our property background image. The second slide is going to be our property slide image, which are these 2 images. Right, so how you set up your data structure over here in the JSON is really going to decide how you're going to set up your code here in your template. All right, you can do it in your own way. Some people prefer that. What if I have 10 images for that individual property? Do I write in this way? No. If you do have multiple, let's say you have more than 3 images that you want to show to the user, you're probably going to say slide image, you create an array, something like this. You create an array and use that array to store the routes of each images, which is also okay. All right, because for education purpose, I just want to show you something simple, something easy to handle. But now you can see once we've done the swiper, this thing has come in. It looks perfect. All right, so this thing has come in, and you get to see those 2 slides there. That's what it is for. Okay, so once we've done that swiper, inside this is going to be taking 8 columns. Make sure you centralize it, centralize the 8 column thing, and we're going to move on to the next one. And below this, we're going to create a new row. I do some simple typing here for you to see the file structure, so you wouldn't be able to lose it. And inside a new row, we're going to have a few things to present. The first one is going to be the 12 column item. Inside here, we want to show the user the property price. We want to give them a quick summary of the property ID, the location, the type, the status, the area, the numbers of beds, baths, and garages. All right, so these data are all coming from our local variable, property, which we fetched from the backend and set it over here. All right, you must know where the data came from. And then if you're going down, you will see this thing all gets show up in a very beautiful way. All right, so that's the amenities and the property descriptions, the quick summaries, everything's there. Although it looks a bit of ugly so far, that's because we haven't put on the CSS yet, but the data is there. And have a look at that last bit, the property amenities. The property amenities is an array that we get from the backend. All right, so it tells you the features of that property. Does the property has a balcony or a kitchen? How does the internet? Does it have a parking space? All of those things. So when we do the mapping, the data that we fetched from here is the sub-array. It's an array inside this object. All right. Then we have to map it again into a list item, so it can be presented more decent on the web page. And we do not have a key to assign to the mapping, so I show you that in a higher order array function map, it comes with a second parameter. This one is a built-in parameter. You don't have to set it up. It comes with the function itself. So you just use the index as a key for the mapping element. All right, that's what it is for. So once you've done that, you will have this. But to make it look beautiful, inside the style file, inside the Square ID folder, what I will do, I'll show you the CSS. This one. So that's the CSS. So we're gonna have to make sure that the gallery property has been set to the proper margin, and the price has a margin of 0, and also just basically adjusting the margin of each items so they can be listed out in a more decent position. All of this, set up the box with give them a correct background color. This is the border. Once you have that, if you're going back, you will see this border looks much nicer. That wraps the price. That's what it is for. All right, one of the shining design for this page. And also you want to make sure that you adjust different font size and titles based on the screen size to achieve the responsive design. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Not too complicated. A very simple CSS file. But once we've done that, we're going back to the browser. You will see the things get listed more evenly. You will see more space around them. Yeah, that looks much nicer. Cool. Below that, we are going to show the property video. So let's have a look at the structure. This is going to be the first row inside the second container. Inside this container, this is going to be the second row inside it. And below that, I'm going to have a third row and a third column below that inside this row. So what I'm going to do is to copy and paste in another column below that 12 column you just used. This is going to be a 10 column thing because I want to make it narrower. But inside it, we're going to show some really good stuff. This is a Bootstrap template. You get to show different tabs. You probably want to present user the video of that property, the floor plan, or other features, ubication of that property, all of those. And we set it up. So now we have 3 list items. The first one is going to be the video. The second one is floor plan and the ubication. And you have 3 navigations. And down here, you have 3 item content to match this navigation. Whenever which one you click on, and it will show that item only. So for the video, we use the iframe, and here we have that video link. Over here, we have that video link, which is a sample one. And then now this one allows you to fetch that video link and present it an iframe. So that's going to be the first one. The second one is going to be the floor plan, which is an image. And we do have the directory of that floor plan image, which is this one. And the third one is going to be some other stuff for you to present to the user, another iframe that shows the map of it. So now you just put in some Google Map link over there, and this iframe will allow you, this iframe allow you to present the location of that property based on their Google Map location. All right. So once we've done that, we're going back to the browser, and you get to see this. When the user click on video, it shows the video. The floor plan shows the floor plan, and the location will show this one based on the Google Map. So that's what it is. Yep. That looks pretty nice already. But I'm not satisfied with the status so far, because if the user, when they look at this page, they are super excited and interested in this one, and they want to buy this, or they want to get more detailed of it, they need to find someone to contact with. So for the real estate website, ideally, you will have to let people know who is the agent for you to best contact. And down below that, once the user finalizes the browsing, we're supposed to give the agent detail over here, just below the map. All right. So over here, I'm just gonna shut down this column, and below that, I want to present the agent. But the problem is, do we have the agent data so far? We don't. When we did the data fetching, we only fetched the property data based on their ID, and we end up with this. We don't have the agent data. The agent data is what we set up in the previous session. If you type in agent, if it's not working, just reload it. You will see all the agents data here. We have 6 agents in our company. Now, if you have more, it doesn't really matter how long you have, but this stores all the agent data. And if you go to each individual one, you can go to agent 1 that shows you the first agent detail. So the agent data is coming from a different API endpoint, which is not the property one that we used before. How do we solve this problem? We want to present the agent data here, but we do not have the agent data. We have to do another fetching. All right. Instead of fetching one time, we have to do a second time fetching. And also, you think about it, how do we know which agent sells this property? If you're going back to your property routes on your localhost 4000, maybe we just go to the first one. When you're using JSON server, sometimes you will encounter this issue, but you reload it, it will show. At the very end, you will see agent number 1. So it tells you this ID1 property has been handled by agent number 1. And if we go into agent number 1, you will see this agent's information. What does it mean? It means that we have a data relationship between different routes. Okay, the property agent data, the property data has been linked to the agent data based on the agent ID. So we must use that to fetch the agent detail. All right, that's what I want to say. And we know that from the property object, we can fetch the agent data. So we're going to use it to fetch the agent information. So our second fetching function is like this. Fetch data from the localhost 4000/agents/ID. But this ID is based on our property, because our property has that agent information, like so. Agent 1, the second property is handled by agent 2. We use that agent to get the agent ID. Alright, so now we can do the agent ID, and then once we have it, we set our another local variable that I want to use, which is agent. Below that, the second local variable is agent. We set our local variable agent to the agent that we fetch from the backend endpoint. Alright, and also we want to make sure that this thing is done whenever this page gets mounted, whenever we have that property agent ID ready. So it's different from before. We must make sure that the agent ID exists before we do the fetching. Otherwise, you're just fetching some empty ID, and the route will return you nothing. All right. So if the agent ID is null, we return it. Basically, we do nothing. Otherwise, we're gonna do the agent fetching function like so. And whenever the agent ID changes, we're gonna do another fetching, because maybe the user is seeing a different property handled by a different agent. You have to do a different fetching to show the new information of the agent. All right. So we've done that. Now we have that data stored in our agent variable. What we're gonna do is to present it just below this 10 column. We will have our agent column ready. So down here, we paste it in. So this is going to be our agent 12 column. Contact the agent. And now we are fetching our agent profile image. So going back to our endpoint, just agents, you will see for each agent we'll have the profile image, the name, the phone, the mobile, email, and also all the social media with a simple description. So now we're just using those data. Present the name, the description, the phone, the mobile, everything, okay, of that agent. And if they do have some social media, you can set up links for the user to click on those social media link to better understand or better contact this agent. Yeah, that's all. And the following part is just a simple form. This form I haven't make it function, but I will show you how to make form function in the contact page, not over here. But this allows the user to put in their messages or some contact details, send a message to the agent. All right, so that's what it is. And if going back to the browser, as you can see, the agent's detail is there. We have that second agent, Olivia. If you're going back to the browse, you will see the second one named Olivia, which is the correct one that we are fetching. And you get to see the description and all the contact details, social media, a background image of that agent. So now this page seems to me looks all perfect. We have all the property details. We have the images to show to the user, the price, the description, all the small details, the floor plan location, the video, and even including the contact agent details showing at the end. So the user should be very happy when they see this browser because they got all the things they need. All right, so let us play this website for now, and one more time. We're going to that think about yourself as that home page, and you look at the latest property. Oh, say for example you're interested in this first one, and then you just click on to view, and then you go into the individual page, and now you get to see everything of it. All right, and if you want to browse the entire thing, you go to the property page. That's all the property that we have. You click on one of those, going into that page, and then you get to see it, right? So let's try another one, maybe this one. Yeah, you can see the agent image changes to the one that you click on. All right, it looks all perfect. So far we have done the home page, the second section, latest the property, and also we have built our property grid page, the property individual page, and our next job is to build our agent page. However, the agent page is actually going to be very, very similar logic as the property one. If you want to try it yourself, you can think about how you set up the structure, right? It'll be the same. On the home page, we present a few example agents, and we have all the agents listed over here, and you must also create a single page for each agent, right? So let's just get on and do that now. To create our agent sections, what we're going to do is inside the component folder, we'll create a new file called agent, plural, and name it section, JSX, enter. So this is going to be a client component, and then we say RFC to create a boilerplate, and now we have this one done. And don't think about it, the agent is still going to present many agents cards, and each agent card is going to hold the profile of that agent, right? So inside here, that's going to be the parent component. When we fetch data from the backend URL like this, we're going to have all the agent data that comes as an array in response. And what we're going to do is to map that data into the agent cards. So we have to build a children component, and inside here, another one, and that is called agent card, JSX, enter. And again, this is a client component, and we say RFC tab. So now we have that card, we have the parent component, the child component, and also very quickly, we're just going to say we're going to have a CSS file to control the style of the card, and then we import that back to the child component. /agent card CSS. That's it, right? So now we have all the templates set up. The next job is to start to build this component. The first thing I want to build is the agent card. Because we have done the property card before, the logic here is going to be very, very similar. We're going to build a card, and we know that when the parent component do the data mapping, it's going to map that into our card. So we need to take a property value from the parent component, and we call that agent. And that agent is going to hold the object value. We can use that object to fetch each property inside here, right? So that's the logic. And for this card, couple hooks we're going to use. One is the use state hook, the other one is the use effect hook. So we have all of those. And once we have that done, we're going to create a local state variable, and we call it const name set name this is going to be used to handle our agent name. Maybe there's some manipulations or animations to be handled to our agent name, so we'll just leave it for now. Local state variable. And then inside here, we're going to set up our template to hold our agent data as the card. So what I'm going to do is to copy and paste all the things that I have prepared. So in here, as you can see, it's a card box, which is the bootstrap thing. And inside here, the first thing is going to show the agent profile image. So we access that agent profile image, which is this one. And secondly, we're going to have a link which allows the user to click on it and fetch each individual data for that agent. And in that way, we have to create a new routes for the agent. So we have to go to that /agents/ID. And we know that each agent has its own ID. So we're going to use this to build a new routes to obtain that individual detail of the agent. And then we show the agent name. The following stuff is just going to be the agent's phone, the email, and all the social media component, like here, the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So all of these. So once you have set up this template structure, what you can do is to build your agent section. It seems like so far we're not going to use this local state variable, so I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to remove these two as well. If later on we're going to use it, I'm going to put it back. So far, we just make things simple. So once you have this card template, what you're going to do is to design this parents component to do the data mapping, map all the data you fetch from the JSON array into this agent card template. All right, so let's just do that. Going back to your parents component, here we're definitely going to have to use the use state hook and also the use effect hook. And also, inside here, we do need to create a local state variable to store our agent's data that we fetched from the backend API, and we call it agents. Initially, it's going to be an empty array. Once the data gets fetched, this empty array will become the JSON array from the backend. So the next job is to do the data fetching. What we're going to do here is we create a fetch data function. We fetch all the agents data from the localhost 4000/agents. Once it's done, we're going to have a response as a JSON array, and we convert that JSON array using .json method into the JavaScript array, and then we reset the local agent's data into that data that we fetched from the backend. Once that's done, we're going to call this function whenever this agent section gets mounted on the browser, so the local state of the agents will get updated. All right, so we've done that. And the next job is going to be our section part. So in here, instead of saying agent section, let's put in our section code. It's a very typical section code similar to the property one. We create a section called a section agents. It's going to be in the bootstrap container that contains the bootstrap row. And inside here, the first row is going to have a 12 column that take the whole width of the row that shows the title, and also allow the user to go to the agents page that shows all the agents lists. All right, and we have the second row. The second row is going to be the data mapping, which maps our local state variable data, the agents, into our agents cards. So initially we have to check if the local state variable agents exist. If it does, we're going to check if it's an empty array. If it's not, we're going to choose the first 3 agent, slice 0 to 3, means we're going to choose the first 3 agent and map them into the card that we have designed before, which is this one, the card template. All right, so let's just import that card here. So now if you go back to see the card has been imported, basically means that everything's running correctly. And since we are using the link inside this page, we have to import the Next.js link over here. So my habit is to put it above that. Oops. Let me just redo it. Go about, yeah. So now everything seems to be fine now. And our last job is to put this agent section into our home page. Go down to the bottom, and when you find this page, this is our home page template. All right, we have our service section, we have our property section, and now we build our agent section, which is going to import it there. So agents section, close the angle brackets, and now this thing has been successfully imported. And let's just go back to the browser to see what's going on there. It looks like in agent cards we have missed the importation of that link. but that is going to be a very easy fix. Let me just fix it right now. So going back to our agent card, find the link, delete the last letter, retype it, save it. So now the link gets re-imported. Move it above a little. So that's done. So sometimes when your project grows really large and your prettier, it's going to take a longer time to reformat your code, but you just have to be patient and wait, right? So do not touch the code while it's saving. It's just when your project grows larger, it needs more time to process it. So now let's go back to see. Our agent has been perfectly created. That's the agent card, except that this card looks pretty ugly. That is because we haven't done a CSS part yet. So let's just go to the CSS, and I'm going to copy and paste the card design for this part. And you can see for agent, we're using card D. Just make sure that you have to reset the paddings and make sure it's a responsive design for different sides of the screen. And also you redo the title, also make sure it's responsive. For the content, initially we're going to make sure it's height, so we give opacity of 0. So whenever your mouse hover on it, we make sure it shows off, okay? And this is just the responsive design for that body. So when you hover on that body, those title is going to show off. So I'm just going to quickly scroll down to show you all the text code, the CSS code. If you want to copy this or you want to type up, you can just pause the video and start typing. All right, that's pretty much all. Yeah, the end. And then we go back to our home page. You will see this looks much more beautiful. And when you hover your mouse on it, you will see that the background green show up, and also the content, the name, and everything gets pops out. Right? So it's the same logic as the last properties section. When the user click on all agents or click on the agent navigation, it should all lead the user to the agent's page. Right? And also when the user click on the name or anywhere of the card, it should lead the user to go to the individual agent page. So we have two more pages to build. One is the agent that shows the list of the all agent. The other one is agent single, right? So let's just do it now. Close off these few items that we have done before. And to think about where to start it. Do we start the agent page inside a component? Of course not. The same logic as the property, we need to create a folder for it. So inside the app, we'll create a new folder and we call it agents, plural. So now you have it. And inside here, to create that route, we'll have to do a file called page.js, and we say it's going to be in a use client. I would say RFC to create that boilerplate. When your project grows larger, it's probably going to take a longer time for that auto importation to come in. You're just going to have to be patient and wait for a little while. It has been successfully loaded. And now what we want to do is to type up the name. This could be like agents list. Just give them the same format as before. The following job is just to build this page. And I'm going to show you the beauty with the React or Next project, how you can smartly use the component that you have built before, and you're just going to reuse it, reapply here, very handy. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is to do the data fetching, because on the agents page, we're going to fetch the agent data again and map it into the agent cards, right? So the hook we're going to use, one is the use state hook, the other one is the use effect hook. So once we have those two things done, and inside the function, we're going to set a local state variable to store the data. I'm going to run this real quick because we have just done it before. We're just going to do the data fetching again inside this page. In the future project, I'm going to show you how to build a global environment to fetch data only once and then share it across the entire application. But for this one, we're just going to do multiple fetchings for demonstration purpose. So you will know that how the data come from. Okay, save it. So now we fetch data from that route and make sure that you reset the local state variable into the new JSON data. And once you've done that, you're confident that your agent's data is the JSON data from the backend, which is this one. And the next job is going to set up our agent list template over here. What we're going to do is delete the old one and then create a main and give the ID of main as well. So the same logic. And inside here, the first thing we're going to put in is the page title. Each page should have a breadcrumb. The breadcrumb holds the page title and the page name, right? So just because we have built this breadcrumb component before, you don't have to do anything. You just need to retype it, import that component, reset a new title, subtitle, and a page name, and save it. And going back to the browser, if we go to the all agents, you will see that thing is there already. Okay, everything has been pre-set up for you. You are making it so easy for yourself. This is the React way or the Next way of building project. All the components are supposed to be isolated from each other and connected in the end. They are standalone, they are the component and can be reused and reapplied. Put them together, you will have the entire application ready for use. Okay, this is the beauty of it. The next thing we're going to do is to do the data mapping. We're going to map our data into the agent's card on our agent grilled page. So what we do, we create a section, and inside here, because we get the data from the backend API and reset the local variable agents into that JSON data, we're going to do the data mapping, map it into agent card. Just bear in mind the differences between this one and the previous component that we did in the agent card. Oops, in the agent section. Here, when we did the agent mapping, we sliced the first three to map because we only want few to present it on the home page. But here, we're gonna fetch all the data, so there's no slice. All right. So once you've done data mapping, we should have all the agents ready for the card. The last thing to import is the pagination. So we're gonna import this pagination, so we will have a beautiful page all set up. So this component is isolated. This component is isolated, and this component is isolated. You can reuse it, reuse them anywhere on your web page. Going back to your browser to see if you have missed anything, it looks like we have forgot to import the agent card component. So we're going back, import it. So now make sure that you have imported all the necessary component inside this page. And now, if you look at your agents page, look at the routes, localhost 3000 agents, plural, you will have this breadcrumb. And also you will have your agent grilled, this agent grilled with all the card design that we have done it before. So the next job is that when user click on each individual card, it should take the user to the individual agent page. So far, if you click it, it will show the routes /agents/3, but not showing any content because we haven't built that page yet. Remember, in the previous component properties, the way we handle the individual routes is to build another folder inside the parent folder. It's the same logic. So what we're going to do is inside the agents, we create a folder and call it ID. So now we will have the child ID. And inside here, we create a file and we call it page. It's also going to be a use client, the client component, and RFC to create a boilerplate so we can have this route ready. Just wait for a second for that auto importation to come in. Yeah, let me just try it again. Yeah, sometimes just the system runs really slow. You just have to wait. And we have to rename it, name it agent single. So now we have that each individual single page. If you now going back and you click on one of those, you will see that the page is showing without any content. But we haven't put any content yet, but at least we know that this page exists, right? So instead of showing that black screen. So it's working. The next job is to build this agent single page, and we are ready to go there. So logic on this page is that we are going to fetch the individual data from the backend API. So let's just try if we say localhost 4000/agent/1, and that will show you the individual data for the ID1 agent. All right, we are going to make a request to this one, but the route parameter ID is going to be dynamic. How do we achieve that? We use the built-in parameter for the routes, and we call it the params. So as soon as we have that, we should be okay. And for this project page, we're going to have the use state hook and also the use effect hook, those two. And once we've done that, we're going to create a variable called ID to store or fetch the route parameter ID. And also we're going to have a local state variable agent to hold our data that we fetched from the backend API. And the next job is going to be the data fetching. So over here, we say fetch data from localhost /agent/ID. This ID refers to this ID that we fetched from the route parameter ID. It's all matched up. Once we've done it, we reset the local state variable agent into that data, and we know that this function will be triggered whenever this individual agent page gets mounted on the browser. Alright, the data fetching is done. The remaining job will just be the page. So what we're going to do here, delete this, copy and paste in our page code, and I'll explain it for you. First, we're going to have a breadcrumb. This breadcrumb shows the agent's name, shows the subtitle, and also shows which page we are on. And now we're supposed to use a link here instead of anchor tag. We are now in the third level of the page, so it should allow the user to go back to this parents page, which is the agents, and also the root page, which is the home. So now let me just change this one to link, and this one as well. And import it. Let's see if I have imported. Nope. We must import it first. Okay, the second one is. So just go back to here and double check that we have imported the thing from Next.link. I actually remember, but do not need a curly brace for that. We could just import it straight away. And sometimes the auto importation just behaves incorrectly, and you just have to be very careful with those. So we've done that. This is going to be the template. For the intro part, the intro part is just the breadcrumb that allow the user to see the title of the page, the subtitle, and give them the route to go back to the previous parents page. That's all. And the following part is just going to be the agent's single content. It's wrapped in a container. The container has only one row, and inside here we have multiple columns. The first part is going to be a 12 column, which also have another row inside it. This row is divided into two parts. We have a column of 6, and we have a column of 5. And let's see what it does. The column 6 actually loads the agent's profile image, and also the column of 5 actually loads the agent's detail. It has the agent's name, the agent's description, and it has the agent's phone, mobile, and email, and the Skype. And also following that is just the agent's social media contact and everything. So that's the end. So all of this agent data is what we fetched at the very beginning of this page, and we loaded into the local state variable over here, right? So we know that this is the JSON data. The web design is just to put the JSON data into your UI template. That's the key things for you to handle, right? So now the thing's supposed to be dynamic. Doesn't matter how many agents you have the page loaded up. So let's now go back to our page. Whoops, that thing has already shown up very quick. But I would like to show you from the beginning. Say for example, we are in the agent page, and now we choose the second one, and we click on the name. It takes us to the individual agent page of the second agent, Olivia, and we see the name, the subtitle. This is the routes and parent routes. That's the description, all the contact details, and the social media, right? That's all. That's the profile of that agent. It's like a team show, okay? So if you're going back to the home and you scroll down to the best agent, even you click the card on the home for anyone, that will still take you to that individual agent page. This card works anywhere on your website in the same way. Really great. Alright, so now we have finalized pretty much the page, except for one last thing. I do want to add a few styles to this file. So let's just create a new file called styles.css. Enter. So just very simple for this agent single, some adjustment to the social media parts with the margin. And then if you're going back, maybe refresh it a bit, you will see this thing slightly changes. No, the reason is because we didn't import that file over here. So over here is the import styles.css, save it, and then you go back refreshed a bit, yeah, you will see this social media spread out a bit. That looks much nicer than before. Okay, so that thing is done, and we are good to go. So now we have the property page, the agent page, and we have the property single page, and we also have the agent single page. It looks like the most important job of our web design project has been completed. The following stuff just going to be very, very smooth. So we're now going to touch upon this about page. So far it's empty, but I'm going to load everything over here right now. So going back to our editor, close off these few things. And if you look at the code structure here, that's the agents. Very simple to build a subfolder to contain your each individual routes. Very easy for that. So we have the agents folder, we have that property folder. To build a about page, what we're gonna do is to create a new folder called about, and inside here it's just gonna be a file called page. That's it. So now you will have the routes for about. So for this page, let's just say this is also a client component. In the future project, I'm also going to show you how to build a server component, which is different from this one. I'll explain the differences between the client and the server. But so far, in this course, let's just focus on the client component. And what we're going to do is create a boilerplate, RFC, and this is going to be called about. So that's our page name. So for this page, what we're going to do here is hard code some of the static data. We don't have to fetch from anywhere. And also on this about page, there's also going to be a agent section that shows some of our team member. So we also need to fetch data from that agent's routes, which is this one. Oh, the previous one, this one. So let's say I haven't finished building yet. Saved it. So now if we're going to the about page, you will see that this thing gets created, even though it only has the navigation and the footer, because we haven't built any body part yet. So to create our template, what we're gonna do, again, like how we did in other page, we're gonna create a main and give an ID of main. Oops, it looks like that the auto, yeah, it's working now. Sometimes it's running really slow. And the first thing, we're gonna use our breadcrumb to create our page title. So what we do here is copy and paste in this one. So give a slogan of our business. The subtitle, you can give it something. I'm just going to leave it blank. So let's just import this one to the above. So now if we're going back, you will see that we have this big title there, and it's on the about page. All right. So we've done that. The next thing for us to do is to create our about section. So we're going to create a section, and we give it class name of section about. Oops, it seems like that auto importation thing's not working again. It's just gonna be wait for a while. Yeah. So this thing is done. So inside this section, what we're gonna do is to load our stuff. And what I will do, I'll just copy and paste in. It's gonna be a container inside the section, and inside the container is going to be a row. Inside the row is going to be that's a 12 column. That's another 12 column. So the first 12 column, what it does is that to load our image for this about, and we are using the image tag of Next.js. So this is not the typical image tag like this. This is the image tag that we use in HTML, but now we are using the next image tag. So we have to import this if we want to use it. It looks like that auto importation is not working again. So what I will do, I'll just copy and paste that importation code right above over here. This is how you import the image from Next. And then for the source, we have to tell where the image is, but you cannot pass the source directly over here. You have to assign that directory into the variable and then pass the variable into the source property. And what I'm going to do, inside the image folder of the app, we're going to use two static images of this project. So I'm going to copy and paste in. One is this one, the about to. The other one is the slide banner. So we're going to have these two images. And once you have those two, those images are supplied down the link in the description. You don't have to worry about it. And what you're going to do is to import those two images over here. So this is how you import the first image, that's the route of it, and assign it to a variable. A second image, assign it to a variable, and now you will have that image there. Okay. So the next thing is give a bit of a box design and tell them that we are what kind of agents, what we does, that kind of things. And the second part, the 12 column, again we're gonna import another image, do a bit of a styling, and just a bit of introduction of ourselves, who's the founder, that kind of things. All right. So it's not a very complicated design. And to make it look nicer, if you're now going back, you only get to see this, but it looks not very appropriate. Ideally, I want this text to be shown vertically. So to do so, I'm going to create another file called style.css. So now I'm going to copy and paste all the things for our CSS in this page. So for the about section, we do have a text vertical, which matches the one in the previous. This is the text vertical. We want it to be shown vertically. This is how you turn it around to use the transform. And then we want to make sure the padding is correct. It's responsive on different screen size. Even that we have a theme box, we make sure the background color is correct. Make sure it's responsive on different screen size. Readjust the font weight and size for the title, and make sure it's responsive. All those sort of stuff. So I'm just going to quickly go through these, and you can match up with the previous design on this page. So now we're done the CSS. The last thing is to import that style file. .css, import it, and now if you're going back, you reload, you will see this thing gets turned around. This title gets added a green background color. So now it looks much nicer for our home page. If you're happy with this, you could just leave it like that. You don't have to go any further. However, I do want to add a bit more, which is our team introduction down below. So because it's an about page, even though we have the whole list of the agent, but for the about, we also want to present a little bit about our team. So down below here, we're going to do a data fetching first, and then we're going to show some of our agent. So in the about page, again, we create our local variable, and again, we're going to do a data fetching below that. So once you've done all of those, you will have that local state variable agents set to our JSON agents data. Just going to wait for a while for the criteria to finalize. So once we fetch that data, just down below, close off this part, this about section, and we're going to create a new section called the team section or the agent section to load this agent file. So that's going to be our section agents. It's also going to be another container which have one row. The first column is going to be a title of this section. The second row is going to be the data mapping. We map our agent's local variable, which is the array. Choose the first three mapped into our agent card. Since we used the agent card, we're going to have to import it. So we import it over here. So everything should be fine now. Just double check the above that everything has been imported correctly. So it seems that it comes in the wrong order. I'm going to move this above a bit. So we have the image imported. This is all the React, and the next thing, this is this our customized image routes. This is going to be our customized component. Normally, I will leave the style file at the end of all importation, and that is because if anything you want to override, your customized CSS file should be in the end. All right. So now we're going back. Oops, it looks like that we forget to import something as well. We use the use state hook and use the effect hook. We have to import over here. Use state and use effect. It looks like the auto importation is not working again. Yeah, sometimes it happens when you build the next project because it has too many compilings. You have to allow the backend of it to run the compile, and you just have to be patient and sit and wait. Once this finalized, so we are ready to see it. So it's done, and now we're going to the bottom, you get to see means our team. You just presented maybe the best 3 agents of your team. And if you click on one of those, it'll take you to that individual agent page that we just built. We have no problem at all. Alright, and we take you back to the home page again. And if you go to the about page, that's what it looks like. Going to the property page, going to the agent page. It is a multiple page project and it looks all decent and cool. And the beauty with the Next is that when you build a multiple page project, you don't have to worry about setting up the routes. The routes is just a folder with the page file in it. It's really handy. It makes your development speed really fast. Alright, so we finalize 3 pages. The last page I want to do is the contact page. So far, it's just going to be an empty, and we haven't even created a folder yet. So let's just do it. And what I want to do is create a folder called contact and enter. So inside that, where is it? Close. Yeah, inside that contact, we'll create a file called page.js. Enter. It looks like creating files is going to take some time. Let me just close off few files before. So now it's going to be the use client and RFC. I know that this is going to take a while to create a boilerplate. So I will pause the video for it to process the backend. Once it's compiled, I'll go back to it. Yep, let me just try it again. RFC. Yeah, now it's working. We have that boilerplate and name it contact. So now the contact page is done. So if we're going back to here and we reload it, yeah, it's supposed to be working. Home page, about, property, agent, contact. So far this page exists, except that we haven't built any content yet. So go back to the editor. Let's start to build the content for the contact page. And for the content, so we delete this one. And the same as before, we're going to create a main and give the ID of main tab. So inside here, we're going to first build our title for the page. It's also going to use that breadcrumb component that we have done it before. So I copy and paste in. We have built this component. You can find it in the component folder, which is this one. And it says the title of this page is going to be contact us. And then we have a long subtitle. And this is our page name. So you'll save it. And now if you're going back, we forgot to import this real quick. Fix that. I'm just going to manually import it. Have to wait until it's saved. Yep, this page has now been saved. And we go back to see this content. The contact us, the title, the subtitle, and also we have the page all working. Now going to the contact, you get to see this. Alright, so this part is done. The next part is going to be our contact section. So we create a section and we give a class name called contact. It looks like that it's going to take a while. Yeah, it's coming out. And inside here, we're going to have some container and we're going to have some rows. And those container and rows is going to be used to hold our company's map and also the contact form. So we're going to build that. So the first one is going to be a container. That one there, and then inside the container we build a row. So that one there. So and inside the row we're going to have our first 12 column, which is this one. The first 12 column is going to be our contact map, and this is the Google routes. You can download this iframe from the Google. You just need to go to Google Map and then put in your company address and you choose share the link, and you have an embedment, and it will provide this iframe for you straight away. It seems like we don't need this. You don't have to manually code it up. Alright, so now we have our map ready. We're going back to the browser. You got to see this map. It looks pretty cool. So now we have our first 12 column. And for the second row, the second 12 column, let me just close this off. The second one. So we paste it in. It's going to be our company's contact details and also a contact form. We haven't built this form yet, so far I'm just going to comment that out. And I'm just going to say this is going to be a h1 tag, a contact form. We're going to build it real quick soon and save it. So now in the second row, we have our 7 column to present a contact form, and we have a 5 column to load our company's heaps of icons, and we have the email of the company, the phone number of the company, and also we're going to manually put in that address of the company so people can find us. And also we're going to present user of all of those social networks, the social network icons, say for example the Facebook of the company, the Twitter, and then the Instagram and the LinkedIn, all the things. So yeah, that's the code that I have show you completely. So once you've done that, you're going back, you will see that here we're going to load our contact form, and I'm going to show you how to use React to do the form. And here is just the contact information of the company with 3 icons from Bootstrap icon. So we've done that. And inside the component folder, what we're going to do is to create that contact form component. So we go to here, and we create a file. We call it a contact form JSX. Enter. And this is going to be use client. And down below we say RFC, and that's the name that we want. Inside this form, we're going to use the use state hook, so I'm going to import it. And we're going to create heaps of functions and stuff to decide how we want to handle this form. First, we're going to create some initial state variables, say for example, something like this. Because we know inside the form, the user will be asked to fill in their full name, email, subject, message, and we're going to return the user with some kind of a message result. Have you done everything correctly, or you're missing this part, or your message has been sent successfully, that sort of things. So here we say that initial state is all going to be empty for this string variable. And we're going to build a local state variable called a text to handle the text words. Initially, it's going to be the initial state of all of this empty string. All right. So once we start to allow the user to put in their own messages, this thing will change. Let me show you in the code how we're going to handle that change. So in the return, we're going to return one big form, which is our contact form. So we say put that in. So now we have a long big contact form. And with the class name of contact form, we have a submission function that we're going to write very quick. And inside here, we say that we have one big row, and this is 6 column. This is another 6 column. That's a 12 column. That's a 12 column. And that's the submission button. That's the error message. And that's the submission button. All right, that's the structure of the form. And let's have a look at what's happening inside the first 6 column. And you will see that this is an input that will allow the user to put in their own message, and we have to using that React function to grab the event change. Whenever a user starts to typing inside this input, we have to take the text that they have typed in. How do we do that? We create a function called change text. So right above this one, whenever the user starts to typing, we'll take the default variable events, and we can access the target. Inside the target, we know we have the name and its value. The value is this one, and this is the name. The name is going to be the full name. So we know that if the user is actually handling the full name input box, we are targeting at the name of the full name, and we are accessing the full name input box of the text value. All right, this is what we call the two-way binding. We are binding the input box to our local state variable, and also we are binding our local state variable back to our input value. So it's binding on the two sides. All right, so on change, we start to trigger this change text function to allow the input text to be recorded into our local state variable text. So whenever the user starts typing, the text is going to change. How do we set that? We just use this set text function. We reset the entire state object. We're going to copy the previous text using the spread operator and find whichever one that has been changed. Say, for example, if the name is a full name, and this one will be full name. If the name is email, this one is going to be email. So find whichever one that has been changed to the value that the user typed in. All right, so this is how we do it. The same logic will be applying to the following one. So if the user starts to touch on the email, the name is going to be email, the value is going to be text.email. And if it's the subjects, the name is subjects, the value is subjects. And for the message, the name is message, and onChange is going to be the text.message. It's the same logic. You just have to make sure the name here matches the name you set up in the initial state, because we use this trick so that you can use this simple approach to handle the text change status. All right. So this is going to be the error message if we actually encountered any errors. And if you have no error of the form, it'll pop up back with the message has been delivered successfully. And this is your submit button. Okay. So that's the entire contact form. And the last but not least, we have to write a function called handle submit. So the user can actually submit this function over here. So once you submit a form, this onSubmit will trigger the handle submit message. It'll prevent the fault. It'll prevent the default behavior of the submission. Basically means that the page will not be reloaded. And we're going to do a checking, a verification to see if there's any objects that is still empty. If it does, we're going to pop back with an error message of incomplete. If the error message is incomplete, you will see text.result equals to incomplete, and we'll show you this message. Please fill in all above details. And if there's nothing, here I just console.log, the form has been submitted. If everything's okay, here is where you should put in your API endpoint for your mail and allow the user to submit that text message to your backend mail, so you can deliver it through the email. Okay. So, but we don't have that mail set up yet, so we'll just use console.log for this project. All clear. So back to our page, we have our component done, and we're just gonna have to open up this. So remove that contact form text and release these comments. So now we are importing that contact form component from the backend, from the component folder. And we are going to show it on the browser. It looks like that auto importation has not been working again. So what I'm going to do is to manually import this at the bottom, save it. It looks like I'm not able to save it as well because of this pret here is running. So just gonna pause the video until it's done. Yep, it looks like that we have successfully saved the file. And let's just go back. Yeah, we get to see this one. But so far it's showing all of these things, and we have to do a bit of a amendment of the CSS for the form to be presented properly. Going back to our editor, and this is gonna be on our contact folder. We create a new file called styles.css. Let me just import it right now. Yeah, save it. So here I'm just gonna copy and paste all the form CSS into it. Contact section. So we know that we're gonna redefine the color. Our theme color is green, and some of the button has to be turned into green. Some of the message has to be hidden, and we make sure we adjust the font color and also the text font, the padding, and the margin. This is the send message. The error message all shows in different color. The send message will be shown in the green, and also the error message is going to be in red. And some of the message is supposed to be hidden initially. Only if we need it, we show the message to the user. Say for example, the user has typed in anything wrong. And for the label, the size, we adjust the font size, the height, all the things. We adjust the border radius of the form. We do not want any curvy stuff. So that's that. We reset the color for the load, for the label, and we make sure we adjust that there's a loading button of the form. I have designed it, but I'm unable to show you because it's only going to be loaded when you have a pending message or pending action when you send the form. But leave it for now. If you want to use it, you can use it in your own project for the loading. Once you connected your form to the real email backend, while the email while the message gets sent to the backend, it's supposed to have a spinning loading button there. But in our project, I'm just not going to show it. So once it's done, you go back, you will see this thing looks pretty cool now. And if you want to send a message, it'll pop up that error because we haven't typed in anything yet. Please fill in all the above detail. As soon as you start to typing, that thing will disappear. See, you can type freely, and you send, nothing there. Start typing, the message goes away. Okay, so we have pretty much finalized our contact form design. That's everything, all the pages now. We're going back to the home. That's the home page. We have all of these sections ready. The about page shows the company details, introduction. The property page shows the grid of the property, and you are allowed to see each individual property as well. With the agent, you'll see the grid of the agents list, and you are allowed to see each individual agent. In the contact, you get to see the company's map, and also you can leave a message, and you can find these contact details. Beautiful, all done. All right, the last remaining job you probably have missed is going to be when you scroll down the page to the end. You see that sometimes you want to go back to the top to see what happened previously. You have to use your mouse to scroll it. Would it be convenient if we add a scroll back to the top button over here so the user can click it any time and take you back to the top? Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm going to show you how to build a back to top button right now. So the back to top button is not going to be a page or anything. It's purely just going to be a component. So inside our component folder, we're going to create a new file and call it back to top button.jsx, and it's going to be in a client component, and RFC to create a boilerplate. So very simple. It's the content of it is very simple. It's just the anchor tag. It's not much. But we need to create a function that will take the user back to the top, and also we need to watch the scroll position of the page, because initially this back to top button is not supposed to show anywhere. It should be hidden. Once the user scroll down, reach certain position of the page, this scroll button, this top button should appear, right? So we have to watch the scroll position of it, and the way to do so is that we're gonna call the use state hook, the use effect hook, and we're gonna set a local state variable called scroll to watch that scroll position, and also we're gonna use the use effect hook to listen to that scroll position and reset the position whenever the position change. Okay, so that's how we achieve the result. We use that Windows listener to listen the scroll events. Whenever the scroll events happen and the scroll change, we're going to reset the scroll position to Windows.scrollY, which is the new vertical position. And whenever the scroll position greater than 100, we're going to turn on the active class. Once the active class gets turned on, it will appear on the browser. Okay. The next thing is going to be the back to top button. It will take the user back to 00 position, which is the top. All done. Okay. So that's the HTML code. And the second thing to do is to create a new file called back to top button.css. We're going to have to put on the CSS to make it look nice. Make sure it has a position fixed. Give them a certain background color, height and width. It's going to be 40 pixels. Initially, it's hidden. Once it's active, we're going to make it visible. Right? That's all. Very simple. And going back to here, we're just going to have to import that CSS file, otherwise it won't be used. Right, all done. And the last thing to think about is where to put this thing, the back to top button. It's supposed to be used on every single page, so the best place to put it is going to be our layout file. So in our layout file below the footer, we're going to import that back to top button. And once it's done, we save it. It's imported here. And you go back to your browser, reload. Just pay attention to the corner. Nothing there for now. Once I scroll down, above beyond that 100, and this thing appear, and that will stay there forever until you click it to the top and that thing goes away. All right, it works on all the page. If you go to the property page, this thing's there as well. Go to the about page, that thing's there as well. See, it works on every single page as long as you put it into the right place. All right, cool. That's pretty much wraps up the entire project. I know this is not a 100% completed project, but for demonstration and education purpose, I think this is sufficient for you to have a better understanding of how you handle a web development project inside React or Next.js, how you do data fetching, how we handle data mapping, how you handle the routes inside the Next, which is the key things for you to take away today. And if you look at that web page, it moves really smooth with all of those changes between different pages because we're using the next link instead of the anchor tag. The next links allows you to load the change of the component whenever it's necessary and keep the remaining stuff unchanged. That really fasten your browser loading speed and give you the best performance experience. Alright, so that's the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. If you like it, please subscribe my channel, share it with your friend, and click on the like button. If you do have any questions or you have any suggestions, please leave a message down below. I'm more than happy to answer it. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video to show you a more exciting project. Bye for now.